on, you guys? It's your boy Alex West Collects here, bringing you another figure review. And today we're taking a look at WWE Mattel Ultimate Edition Greatest Hits Wave 2. We have Series 1 Ultimate Warrior, which we all thought was going to be a re-release, and we will get to that. And we have the re-release version of the Series 9 Ultimate Edition Stone Cold Steve Austin. If you are interested in grabbing these figures, they are now available and shipping from ringsidecollectibles.com. When you guys shop there, use promo code FORLIFE. It will save you 10% off your order. So I was not going to get this set. I already had Warrior from Series 1. I've been collecting the Ultimate Edition from the start. I have multiples of Stone Cold. But when Ringside got these in stock, they showed just the image of the box, right? And we kind of noticed some people, like, the torso cut on this looks to be a little different. Did they update the torso on the Warrior? Because let's be honest, if you have the earlier Ultimate Edition figures, the Ultimate torsos, aesthetically, they did not look right. Something was a little off, especially on the midsection. Again, I do have the Series 1, and we'll compare it, but Bill McKenna is in London for Money in the Bank, where he revealed a few new figures, and they showed this Warrior, and it has a brand new torso with the butterfly joints, and I was like, come on, man, really? I was not going to grab it, so I said I have to have this for my collection. It is, to me, a step up. We're going to go into a full in-depth comparison of Series 1 to see what else is different with this figure. With Stone Cold, I think it's a straight re-release, but I said, you know what? The hell with it. Why not? I love Stone Cold. I can use another one. For sure, I know he does have the pinless joints now that was not on Series 9, but I know a lot of my Stone Colds had kind of a loose butterfly joint, so maybe they fixed it with this new release. I don't know. I guess we'll see once we get him out of the box. Again, we're not going to go crazy in-depth. It is, for the most part, the same exact figure from what I'm seeing on face value here. So, again, we're not going to go too crazy into that, but you will see the box looks like your standard Ultimate Edition box. Again, you got the nameplates up here of Warrior and Stone Cold Steve Austin, the Ultimate Edition logo. If you flip into the side, you'll see the nameplates for Warrior and Stone Cold. Up top, Steve Austin and the Warrior. The awesome image of the two on the side of the box. On the back, I believe these images are the same from the original release. I don't have a mock, but you will notice it does have greatest hits here, so there is a way to differentiate if you do see these guys side by side in maybe a store or a comic book shop or something where they may have some older Ultimates. But anyways, enough chatting. Let's crack both these out of their box and see what they're all about. So starting us off, we're going to look at Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'll be honest with you guys, we're going to run through this pretty quickly. We've already reviewed him here on the channel. If you want to watch the full in-depth review, go back and watch that video here on my page. But we really want to see what the differences are between this and the original release. So again, he comes with a chain. You get the Stone Cold Steve Austin vest. But he also does come with the blue-strapped Attitude Era title. This is the new one. This is the original that came with Stone Cold. Identical. No differences here. You can say maybe the vac finish is a little different, but I think that varies from belt to belt, so I'm not going to call that anything different. You get the mic open holding hands on the figure. You get two pointing fingers. That's not going to change. You also do get two fisted hands. You also do get a baseball cap with the skull on it. Here is the prior release. Again, identical. Maybe there's a little more of a brighter white to the new one, but again, this is so like minor, like who's gonna care? Next up, you get a WWE microphone. Again, I have like a spare one that I keep in my like spare bin, so I have all these accessories ready to go right out of a Ziploc bag. Again, everything just seems to be the same. So let's just go ahead and bring my other Ultimate Stone Cold. This is the original. I actually did go ahead and swap out the arms from, I believe it was the WrestleMania Elite. I bought a bunch from the Ringside like holiday sale, and I just swapped out all the arms. So the original one had the pinned arms, but you can see they're both pinless now here for this sake. As far as the vest, they look to be the same. Maybe the little like bullet holes or whatever little staples on the lettering is a little more prevalent on the new one. Let's take a look at the back. Not so much. Again, identical for the most part. I will say the tattoo on the new Greatest Hits here is a little brighter than the original one. So again, that's a preference. I think I like the lighter look. Looks more like a tattoo than, you know, an actual toy. The rest of the figure looks to be the same. There is no added articulation with the drop-down hips. I will say, my Ultimate Stone Cold that came, they were a little loose with the butterfly joints. That's one. I actually even have another one. I have a few of these. They're not terribly loose, but a little looser than I'd like them to be. I will say this one, I don't know if it's just the luck of the draw, is definitely not as loose. So I don't know if they're using a new plastic maybe. I know Mattel did say that they were using a harder plastic or a different type of plastic to kind of keep those joints tight. But you'll see the head scans. They look to be the same, like on face. Maybe it's a little bit of a darker goatee, just slightly. Or it's, I don't know if it's my mind playing tricks. I will say the tongue is painted a little more of a lighter color than Stone Cold. The eye kind of finish, I guess the new TrueFX technology or whatever, the printing technology, looks to be a little better, if you ask me, on the greatest hit Stone Cold. And if you want to run through each head, I do have them here. So this is the greatest hits, kind of like stoic face. And that is not it. I have it somewhere here. Actually, maybe I do not. I do not have that head here handy because it is on this figure. There you go. So again, this is the original release. This is the new one. Doesn't look to be any different to me. So the head, I'm going to say, is the same. I do have the laughing scans. And again, I screwed that up. Sorry, guys. Here are the laughing scans. So you will see that this is the original release. And this is the newer one. Again, just the tongue seems to be a little different. The eyes seem to be printed on there just a little differently. I know if the color is a little different. You guys are noticing the original one right here is a little lighter. His eyes are a little darker on the new one. But one thing I am noticing for sure, so you do get the Austin 316 shirt. This is with the Greatest Hits Ultimate. And here is the original. Look at the fabric on the shirt. It looks to be not as sparkly or shiny. I don't know if that's enough for you to go ahead and buy this figure, but I think the new shirt does look a little better, to be honest. But as far as differences, they're very minor, so you're good to go with either Stone Cold. I don't think you need to go ahead and buy this new one, but if you missed out, here's another opportunity to grab them. And if you were curious, this is how the actual Austin 316 shirt looks like on the new Greatest Hits Ultimate figure. I feel like this actually looks a little nicer. I do like the fabric finish to it. Looks a little more authentic. You can see on the back with the skull here. So I'm going to just say the shirt is definitely a plus over the original release. Moving on to the Ultimate Warrior. So again, this is the figure from this set that is going to be, I'm going to say, significantly different from the original release. Now, mind you, this figure was released in Series 1. It was the very first set of figures for the Ultimate Edition line. We had the Ultimate Warrior from his WCW look and Ronda Rousey. And I'll be honest, these figures really didn't sell that well originally. I feel like they were readily available. I don't know if I saw them a lot in stores. I know on Amazon and Ringside, they kind of hung around and people were like, what's going to go on with this Ultimate Edition line? A lot of people thought that maybe it was just too expensive. And then eventually it took off. And I feel like a lot of people who missed out on this Warrior were paying big bucks to get it in their collection because, you know, I feel like the Ultimate Edition line got really popular and people wanted to complete it. It was only 2 figures a wave, right? They didn't come out that often. So it gave people more incentive to kind of get them all. But, you know, the first rendition of the Warrior, I remember not being too excited about it. The torsos look kind of weird. The tassels, I felt like weren't the best. I feel like they were kind of hard to, like, pour it on. But whatever, we're going to compare it with the first figure, first series Warrior versus this new release. But if we're going to run through his accessories real quick, you get a set of fisted hands. You also do get a set of pressing warrior hands. Again, we've seen these before, the grappling hands. These are all the same accessories that came with the first figure. And you also get the interchangeable head with a worn out face paint. Again, this was kind of like the first time you were seeing this within the Mattel line with interchangeable heads where you can kind of do it like post-match or in the match, before, you know, entrance match look for the Warriors. So it was kind of a cool feature. But we're going to bring, I have 2 of them in my collection. Right off the bat, we're just going to run into these comparisons while we have them here. So this is both the original release Warrior. I have 2 in my collection. And if you want to compare right off from the bat, let's do the worn down head here. I feel like they look to be similar. The paint applications or maybe the coloring of it just looks to be a little more prevalent. It kind of pops a little more. I feel like it's not so much in his eyes. I don't know. Looks a little better, I will say, on the new one, but not like significantly different. If you want to look at the sculpting of the hair or the shading, looks to be not too bad. Next up, let's compare the head scans with the actual full face paint Warrior. So on the left, we have the original release, and on the right, we have the newer release. Seems to be a lot more white, right? There's not a lot of coloration of the black. You guys can see that around the eyes. The white seems to really pop more. I kind of like the original release better, to be honest. I feel that looks a little better. There is a little more blonde in his hair, if you guys can see that, on the new Warrior. Definitely a lot more blonde highlights. And we'll get this vest or duster off, but I do want to compare it while they're on here, because I feel like in the images, they did look a little different. You will see the greens definitely do pop a lot more, right? This is kind of a lighter shade green. This is a little darker. Even the oranges. I mean, this is a lot to kind of capture, so if I do miss anything, I do apologize, but this is the first time I'm actually looking at them and trying to compare them. Again, it is the same, like, design, the same kind of logos and stuff, but the coloring looks to be different. It's a little lighter. Again, on the left here is the original release. On the right is the newer one. I kind of like the newer coat a little bit. I feel like the colors really stand out a little more. But, you know, let's come back. I want to get these jackets off, and we're going to compare the bodies. And getting the dusters off of both figures, you can see the big selling point with the re-release Greatest Hits Ultimate Edition Warrior here. On the right, this figure does have the new torso that implements those butterfly joints. Again, that wasn't introduced in the Ultimate Edition line until Series 7 with Hollywood Hogan, which they eventually revamped. It wasn't quite, you know, what they wanted as far as a range of motion. Really didn't add much to it. We did see kind of the rehashed version. I want to say Series 9 with Ric Flair and Stone Cold Steve Austin. I know the Series 8 Macho Man also did have it, but again, I don't remember it being that great of an extra articulation, so I'm not too sure exactly when they revamped it, but anyways, you do have it here with this torso. This is kind of like the one that they used with the most recent Ultimate Edition Warrior from WrestleMania 7. And you can see how the original torso looked on the Series 1. Not as aesthetically pleasing, if you ask me. I never liked how it kind of sat over the lower abdomen. You kind of had these, like, pointed pieces on the side here. It just looked kind of weird. You can see how they kind of retooled it as the line went on. Again, the pinned arms versus the pinless look way better, in my opinion. That's not even a question. But let's see if we can spot any other differences. I mean, as far as the tassels and the coloring, you can see it looks to be a little different, right? There's a little bit of orange here. If you guys can see that. It's white, orange, purple. I don't know if it's on backwards. That could be something. I don't know. I just feel like the colors look to be kind of flip-flopped, right? You'll see the orange, white, and purple here. The purple starts at the top of the re-release, and the orange, then the white. Again, these are such, like, minute details. I couldn't tell you what was more accurate or which is incorrect. But looking at the actual trunks here, you will see the Warrior logos. Again, the purple and the orange kind of pops a little more on the newer version. Same on the knee pads. It's the same design. Oh, and if you guys were wondering, there is no drop-down hip articulation. You do get a new torso, but it is the same standard legs that came with the Series 1. Again, the boots seem to be about the same. You do get the toe articulation. You'll see the tassels are articulated. Moving around the back. Again, the tights just seem to pop a little more on the newer figure. The tattoo, as far as the coloring, seems to be a little lighter, if you guys can see that, on the Ultimate Edition re-release versus the original one. I know I'm kind of liking the new re-release better, to be honest. I think I do like the head scan. As far as the coloring around the eyes, I feel like that pops a little more on the head. I do like the highlights, the blonde highlights, a little more. This is tough. I mean, if you really needed one for your collection, I think I'm actually leaning towards the Greatest Hits version. Just seems to have a little more to it, a little more oomph. I like the duster. I like how the gear looks a little better, a little brighter. And again, you get the added articulation. Again, I did not like this torso at all. They kept it for a few series and eventually changed it. The new ones with the butterfly joints are so much better. Before we go home with some final thoughts on these figures, if you guys are enjoying this video review, do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button down below. Don't forget to turn on those notification bells to stay tuned to the newest WWE Mattel reviews here on my channel. As far as these two figures go, I'll be honest, Stone Cold, there's not a lot much difference. I really do like this shirt, like, significantly more than the original release. And not to say that the original one was, you know, bad, but this just looks more like an actual t-shirt, and I really love these, like, kind of stretchy over-the-head shirts instead of the Velcro. Really just looks premium. But for the rest of the figure, it really isn't significantly different. I will say the paint applications on the heads look a little nicer. I feel like we've come a little further than even Series 9 to now within the Mattel line, but it's not needed. If you have the original Stone Cold, I think that is sufficient. As far as Warrior goes, again, significant upgrades if you ask me. I feel like this new torso puts it over the top. The gear pops a lot more looking at them in hand. This figure just seems to be a little nicer, and I know a lot of people are probably not happy that Mattel is kind of re-releasing some of these older figures, and you know, I get it. A lot of people do collect for value to kind of hold on to things over time for the value to increase, and for you to say you have a rare figure. In Mattel, I feel like for a while, unless this line goes away, I don't think that's going to be the case with a lot of the figures. I know when the Ultimate Edition line started, up until a certain point, like, these figures were going for a lot of money. And not just Warrior. You look at Triple H, you look at Finn Balor, still goes for a lot of money. Bret Hart until they re-released it. And this is the reason they're giving re-releases, right? Look at even The Rock, that Amazon kind of Ultimate exclusive wasn't readily available. So now they're re-releasing it at Target. Slight tweaks to the deco of the gear, slight tweaks to his accessories, but more or less it's the same figure, but it's upgraded because you have more articulation added to it. And I think that really is the selling point. And, you know, it's kind of a shame and kind of a missed opportunity that Bret and Triple H from the last Greatest Hits wave, or even Shawn Michaels and Brock Lesnar from the wave prior to that, didn't have the upgrades. As far as, like, they were older figures, you could have given them the extra articulation. I did ask Steve about that on the WFigs message boards, and just, he said the opportunity wasn't there with those figures. It arose here with the Warrior, and they went ahead and executed it, and I'm glad they did. Hopefully, if there are some older ones, I mean, at this point, are there really a lot of Ultimates from the earlier release days that did not have, say, the butterfly joints that they can release and kind of plus up? I don't know. There's not many left. There's like the Demon Finn Balor, you got Shinsuke Nakamura, you got some Bray Wyatts. At this point, I don't really want to see any more re-releases. I feel like all the rare figures are kind of been put to rest. I feel like the value on a lot of these aren't there anymore. I'll be honest, I was buying a lot of Ultimates, not for value, but I felt like I would need parts for customizations or fix-ups, and I'd buy multiple of these at retail price, you know, with the anticipation of them going through the roof. I think those days are done. I think the Ultimate line is here to stay. It is very prevalent. It's very popular. So for you to go buy 3, 4, 5 of them or whatever for value, like I said, I just don't think that exists anymore. But I do highly recommend this Ultimate Warrior. You can grab it now at ringsidecollectibles.com. When you guys shop, use promo code 4LIFE. It will save you 10% off your order. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at AlexWestCollects. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video review, and I'll catch you all on the next one.